Hey guys, welcome back to Culinary. I'm Aaron, Miss Thomas. We're gonna make French toast today, okay? Super simple, super delicious breakfast you can make for your parents, whatever you want. So let's talk about French toast real quick. So French toast actually didn't originate in France. In France, the name is actually pain perdu, something along those lines, and it means lost bread. So bread you left in the back of the fridge, something like that. So it's perfectly fine to use stale bread. You can use fresh bread, whatever you want. You can use white bread, challah bread, brioche, wheat, anything you really want to use for your French bread, it's absolutely fine. Just make sure, so you can do a little bit thicker than this, so like 2 pieces of this bread, that's called Texas toast, that's absolutely fine to use, you're just going to cook it a little bit longer, okay? So let's go over ingredients super quick. So we're going to use 4 eggs today, okay? We're going to use 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. You can either use milk half and half or whipping cream, doesn't really matter. I like the whipping cream, it gives it a little bit richer flavor, okay? All right, we're gonna use 1 teaspoon of vanilla today, okay? About 1/4 teaspoon of just regular salt, okay? About 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, okay? We're gonna use about 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon today. You know, cinnamon is, basically it comes like this, it's the bark of a tree basically, and then they just grind it up to get the ground cinnamon. So if you have this at home, you can just run it through a food processor and basically get ground cinnamon, okay? And then we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of sugar. So the equipment we're going to need today is, you're going to need a shallow pan for dipping the bread, mixing bowl, a couple measuring cups, measuring spoons, a whisk, and then a 1/4 cup measuring cup. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to crack our 4 eggs. Okay, so we got our 4 eggs. At this point, I'm going to just take a step back and we'll talk about something, because basically we're going to whisk these eggs and we're going to flavor it. But let's talk about the flavoring real quick. Okay, so I don't know if any of you guys have done the cinnamon challenge at home, but you understand how dry ground cinnamon is. It's the driest powder in the world. It's just ridiculous. So there's actually a trick. So if you are going to take your cinnamon and you put it in here, it's just going to sit on the top and it's not going to mix in well. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a trick. So we're going to take about 1 tablespoon of our vanilla. Okay, and that's just going to go right into our bowl. 1 tablespoon. Okay. And then I'm going to do about 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon right into that bowl. So we're actually going to create a paste with the cinnamon. Okay, so 1.5 teaspoons, guys, okay? So we're actually going to create a paste. So this way the cinnamon is actually going to mix better into the mix. So you can see how dry it is. It just wants to sit with that vanilla. But if you keep whisking it, it'll start getting incorporated into that vanilla and it'll mix into the French toast mix so much better. So we're going to create like a little paste, all right? So you can see that. So you see how the vanilla absorbed all that cinnamon? And that's going to be our flavoring. So this is going to mix in the liquid a lot better than if we were just to dump cinnamon in there. So that's part of the reason we use the vanilla, is so we can get that paste. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whisk my eggs up. Break the yolks first. Okay. And I want this pretty well mixed, all right? You want it to look like what you would do for scrambled eggs. So that's pretty good for right now, because we're just going to whisk it more when we put the rest of the stuff in. Okay, so we're going to add 1/4 cup of our heavy whipping cream. Remember, you guys can use milk if you want. That's absolutely fine. So 1/4 cup right in. Okay, at this point we're going to add our paste. So take your cinnamon, take your vanilla, just scoop it out of the bowl and dump it right in there. Try to get it all. Okay, we're going to make sure it's in there. Okay, we're going to do about 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg. Nutmeg is very strong, so you don't want to use too much, okay? And if you don't have it at home, that's okay. You can do without. Okay, we're going to get our 2 tablespoons of sugar in there. Some people like a sweeter French toast, so you can add a little more sugar if you want. If you if you like a more savory French toast, just omit the sugar. That's okay. About just a pinch of salt, honestly. Just enough to counteract some of that sweetness. So we're going to whisk this up. And this is our base for the French toast. So you'll start to see that cinnamon start to, this will be a nice brownish color all throughout after we're done whisking this. So you want to get it whisked really, really well. Because if you just have giant pockets of cinnamon, the French toast isn't going to taste the same all throughout, and that's just not fun. So you just want to get it all mixed up. So you can see some of these little pieces of the cinnamon just sort of getting going. And this isn't something, even as you're mixing it, that's fine, because we're actually incorporating a little bit of air into the eggs. It'll make it a little bit fluffier. So just sort of get that cinnamon. So you can see even the cinnamon barely wants to mix right now, so we're just going to keep whisking it. Okay guys, so there is our French toast batter basically. So all I want to do at this point is move this over to a shallow pan. So remember, we're going to be, you see some pieces of cinnamon just sort of break it up. Remember, we're going to be dipping the French toast in it, so it's easier to do it with a shallow pan. Give this a whisk. You can absolutely make this ahead of time. You just want to give it a good whisk before you start using it. Okay guys, so that's our French toast batter. We'll put this off to the side. So I'm going to do about 4 pieces of bread today, okay? So this is enough for, 8 to 10 pieces of bread, so we'll do 4 today. Okay, so let's come on over to the stove. So in the culinary kitchen, we use the flat top. So this is actually just a really large skillet. If you're doing this at home, use a pan. If you have a griddle, it works perfect on that. The reason we use this is there's a ton of surface area. We can do a lot of stuff at once. It also has temperature control knobs on it, so I don't have to worry about screwing with burners and stuff. It stays exactly where I want it. For this one, I want this about 325 degrees. Anything hotter than that, the French toast is going to start to burn before the inside starts to get cooked through, and that's just, no, you don't want that. You want to cook it low and slow, okay? So we're just going to add a little bit of canola oil right under the grill. We're going to add a decent amount of butter. There's no real measurement for this, just it depends on what size pan you're going to use, okay? Okay, so we're just going to put that right there. And we're just going to get this butter melted and mixed with the oil. So we use this for, when you guys are in school, we use this to do large batches of stuff all at once, all right? You guys will become familiar with this thing. So you see how the butter's starting to melt? And I want to start working not super quick, but rather quick. I just don't want this butter to burn, okay? So I'm going to put my tongs off to the side. And so for the French toast, all I want to do is just give it a quick dip, flip it. Okay, just make sure it's all coated, and then it's going to go right down. And then I don't want to mess with it too much. So I can definitely check to see if it's browning on one side and stuff like that, but for the most part, I don't want to mess around with it too much. Okay, so now our French toast is on, and now we watch it cook very carefully, okay? So this will take probably about 3 or 4 minutes aside, honestly. So we'll check it in a second. If you're using really thick bread, it's honestly a little bit easier to get that golden brown. So if you're using really thick bread, it's easier to get that golden brown and then finish it in the oven about 350 degrees for an additional 5 minutes, and that just helps the center cook all the way through, okay? Also, if you're using really thick French toast, you can cut a slit in the middle. You can stuff strawberries, whatever you want in there, and then that way that's stuffed French toast. If you're using the heavy whipping cream, you can just whip it and you can do a whipped topping for it. That's absolutely fine. Basically, French toast is a great vehicle for almost anything, all right? So we're just gonna lift this up and see how we're looking. So remember, this is the first one I did. So those need a little bit longer, so we're just gonna let those cook. Okay guys, so our French toast is just getting ready to flip. So a little trick I like to do is, so this has been an uncooked side, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sprinkle just a little bit of sugar right over the top. It'll help build the crust on the second side. So we're just going to sprinkle these with a little bit of sugar, okay? So remember, when sugar gets heated, it crystallizes, and it creates like a crust, okay? So we're just gonna give these a flip, and we're gonna flip these a couple different times. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you know, one side onto the next side, but you can see how it's golden brown like that. That's what we're looking for. Okay guys, so our French toast has been cooking a while, so you can see how it's that beautiful golden brown. Remember, if you're using thicker toast, it's going to take a little bit long. So the egg will soak through the middle, so you just want it cooked all the way through, okay? So if you need to finish in the oven. Also, if you're doing this ahead of time, you can put these in the oven at about 200 degrees just to keep them warm for your family. So let's plate this up. Okay, so let's come over here. So we're going to do a little bit of powdered sugar right over the top. Okay. A little bit of syrup. You don't need a lot because this is sweet as is, okay? Okay guys, that is our French toast. I hope you enjoyed making French toast, and we will see you next time, okay guys? Bye.